Hello, hello. How's everybody doing tonight? Hopefully you're doing well. While we get things rolling, gonna check my audio to make sure I have no screw ups tonight. By a show of hands, how many are ready for the holidays and the end of the year? 2026 is right around the corner. Let's see here. Testing 1, 2, testing 1, 2. I think my audio is good. I don't think I'm too loud or popping or breaking out or none of that stuff. So we should be good. Hey, thanks. All right. So, the end of the year, for me, this is the end of the year for me when it comes to Spindle TV and the live videos. This will be the last live video until January 9th for the public classes, Friday, January 9th. And it's my time, at the end of the year to kind of get things ready for the next year, the things I want to do, the things I want to launch for the new year and get into place and stuff. But it also gives me a chance to decompress and unwind and all that stuff. But I'm still working. I won't be doing live videos until January 9th. So this will be our last time together for a little while. And with that being said, for those of you that celebrate Christmas and all, Merry Christmas. I hope you, have a good holiday. And for, everyone in general, I'll just say this. I would normally save this for the end, but I'll save it at the beginning, to give you something to think about. But, from me to you each, all year, the videos that go out and your views and your thumbs up and your likes and your shares and all of that stuff and your super chats, when you donate money and stuff like that, that all goes to support me, right? And the channel growth and the company growth and things like that. And so I appreciate each and every one of you that come here every time we have a class and, watch and participate. And hopefully you learn something and take something away from it. And this coming year, I'm really going to try something a little bit different. I'm going to try live classes, but I'm also going to mix in some recorded classes that can get me out in the mainstream, to where I'm not competing, but, where I'm kind of when somebody searches for something on YouTube, I get thrown in there with Kyle from, Learn Your CNC, or Ryan from, Cutting It Close, or Garrett from, IDC Woodcraft and things, those are kind of, and then of course, Mark Lindsay and everybody else. Right now, the live events that I do every week don't get circulated. So the views are low, income's low, that kind of thing and all that. So hopefully for 2026, I'll be able to create some content that can get out there and get circulated that's not live, so that YouTube will throw it into the mix when people search for Vectric stuff or, CAD CAM stuff or CNC stuff or whatever, hopefully we'll be able to make some videos and do that and all. But I appreciate your support each and every week and being there. And so, from my house to yours, I'll just say, may your homes be warm. May your plates be full. May your families be happy and your lives be blessed, right? So that's how we'll end the year, but we're not going to end the year like that. We got a project to make. Now we're going to make a timepiece, a clock, a pretty cool clock. Hopefully you like it. I don't know, but it's not something new. It's not an invention of mine by any means. But we're going to kind of put our little twist on what's called a Fibonacci clock. And with that being said, we'll talk about Fibonacci here in just a second. But the end of the year, it's a project that's going to kind of just, take things that you've learned throughout the year, and hopefully you can kind of keep up and follow along. It's going to be fun and easy, but there's also going to be a little bit of thinking involved. Not too much. I won't do that to you this late at night. But I'm hoping 2026 is going to be a great year for Build It TV and Spindle TV. and we'll see what happens. Now, keep this in mind. I do sell things right online, and in the chat, there is going to be a link to the product pricing calculator that I created for pricing your projects. If you sell or make projects to sell, and you're guessing at your prices, or you don't really have a good pricing structure, and you have a little bit of inconsistency in your pricing, and you're using emotions with your pricing, like, oh, what would people pay for it, or what do I think I could get for it, and all. There's no room for emotion and profitability, right? Profitability in business and all. So the product pricing calculator is a way that you can keep track of your machine costs, your fixed costs, your products that you make, and it will create a price based off of what needs to be paid, what your break-even point is, and what your profit margins are, and things. And I'm going to put the link in the chat. Definitely give it a look. And maybe for after the Christmas holidays, when all the money is spent, it might be something that it might be interest you for this coming year. So in the chat, price.builditv.com will take you to that. But if anything, even if you don't buy it or what have you, look at the guides, and I'm only got like 3 guides on there right now, but I'll be teaching a little bit more on the business side of things, what fixed costs are, how they play a role, what labor costs are, and how, it plays a role, how to come up with your labor costs, things like that. Even for home-based businesses, if you're working out of your garage, your basement, your shop and all, there's still fixed costs. Fixed costs are basically those bills that come every month, regardless of if you make or sell anything or not. If you don't cut a piece of wood and you don't sell anything, those bills still come, and you still have to pay them every month. Those are fixed costs. Your rent, mortgage, insurance, software subscriptions, the miscellaneous items that you buy, all those things, fuel for your car, that kind of thing, vehicles and all that stuff. Those are fixed costs, those monthly bills that come no matter what. In your business from your home, you're taking a portion of those bills, and a portion of that, your business is responsible for, up to 40%, or something like that. Anyway, we're not going to get into that tonight, but check out that product pricing calculator if it's something that you think that would be beneficial to you. It's going to grow over time to an inventory manager, hopefully one day a tool manager, invoicing, software and everything. I'm working on developing it into a major thing over the years, and I'm going to be putting a lot of time and focus into it. So this is the ground floor, and version 1.2. Check it out. All right. That being said, let's switch gears and put on our thinking caps, and let's go over to the other screen. All right. Now, Fibonacci. Some of you may, the name off the top of your head doesn't ring a bell, but the shape sure should. We see this spiral shape all the time when we talk about, somewhere in this shape with the right values and everything. The golden ratio is in here, right? We can come up with the golden ratio, 1.618, and it goes on 2.5 and all that stuff. But the Fibonacci sequence is a sequence of numbers that you see like in the spirals of seashells, the spiral of our entire galaxy of stars, in the petals of a sunflower, or just in nature itself. Throughout, you'll see this basically this beautiful perfect circle that's unwinding, if you will, creating this kind of spiral thing. And there's a sequence of numbers that is used to create this spiral, and we're going to use this to create our initial shape for the clock that we're going to end up creating. Now, like I said, the Fibonacci clock, you can see them. You can see all kinds of different Fibonacci clocks on Google and Etsy and things like that. I'm not the creator of the Fibonacci clock or the Fibonacci sequence or anything like that, but from scratch, I would like to show you how we could make one and I want to come up with something nice. I do have a quote that we're going to use that is my a quote for what am I trying to say? For the clock. I want to do an engraving, right? And so I'll let you choose. I'll let you choose. And the option, we'll go A, B, C. We'll make it easy. We'll just type A, B, C in the chat. Excuse me. All right. So I'm a big, I kind of like C, but anyway, we'll do any one of the three and all. So here's my time quote. I think because it's a clock, I figured, a nice something that says something about time. Okay. Time doesn't ask what you've planned. It quietly records what you chose. Little thought-provoking. Time doesn't ask what you planned. It quietly records what you chose. Okay? Sorry. You never lose time. Pause. You only reveal the value by how you spend it. Let me say that again. You never lose time, comma. You only reveal what you value by how you spend it. You never lose time, but you only reveal what you value by how you spend it. I'm not a big fan of that one, but hey, that's now the one I like. C. Option C. Because I think about the Fibonacci, and like I said, that spiral, even of our galaxy and all, so time and space and this and that. So it has the word space in it, right? So I like that. All right, here we go. So option C. Time is the space where the intention, get rid of the word the. Time, hold on. Time is the space where intention, time is the space where intention becomes a life. Let me say it again. Time, I got to get my thoughts right. Time is the space where intention becomes a life or remains a wish. Did that even sound right? Time is the space where intention becomes a life or remains a wish. You may not like any of those, but give me an A, B, or C. Which one, I want to use one of those three. It may not make sense to you, but they're original words. I got someone in the other room spitting out time quotes. Shh. Sorry, I got someone in the other room spitting out time quotes. Time doesn't ask what you planned. It quietly records what you chose. You never lose time. You only reveal what you value by how you spend it. Time is the space where intention either becomes a life or remains a wish. And that was the key. That's why it didn't sound right, is because either, the word either, I was missing there. So time is the space where intention either becomes a life or remains a wish. See, the word either made it more powerful. That's what I like. I forgot the word either, and that's it. So let me know, A, B, or C. All right, cool beans. Now that I taxed you on that one, now we're going to actually get into it, right? We're going to get into drawing it. B, C, D, D. There's no D. D's like D. None of them. Blaze. D. There's no D. It's A, B, or C, man. All right, so here we go. Here's the cool thing about it. Let me show you how to draw the spiral. Now, an easy way to draw the Fibonacci spiral is you could go to the gadget tool in Vectric. You could go down to the spiral gadget. You could choose the golden spiral type, which it's kind of leading to the golden ratio, right? And you could, put in a sequence. Let's say the width that I want for this to be, let's say 55 inches, just as an example. And I want it to go around one time. Arbitrary doesn't mean anything in the golden circuit. And if I were to click apply and everything, it would create this spiral, which you can see at the bottom of the screen. It did it right around 0, 0. But if I change this to 2 times around and hit apply, right, we'll change it. We'll add that little hook onto it. So let's close this tool so that I can zoom into that, right? And that would be one way that, a very pretty simple way that you could draw the Fibonacci spiral, right? Using that golden option and everything. And if I were to rotate this, right? So if I take this and I hit the number 9 key a few times, or the number 0 key and everything, it kind of, you can kind of see the resemblance of the two, right? So that's one way that you could draw your little spiral. Now we need this spiral because this is going to become the hour hand of the clock. So let me show you a Fibonacci clock online, just for those of you that are visual and like, hey, I want to be able to follow along, but I don't get what you're doing. Let me show you a Fibonacci clock online. Fibonacci clock. And go to images. So we'll Google. And a Fibonacci clock, let's go with a wooden one here. Kind of like this, right? But we're not going to do a little square like that. But the Fibonacci spiral for every hour, or every 15 minutes, well, every hour that the minute hand, every 60 seconds, it's a 60-to-1 ratio, right? So every 60 seconds that the minute hand, every 60 minutes that the minute hand turns, the spiral, our Fibonacci spiral, turns to the next hour, right? And everything. And that's, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? And so it's pretty cool. But it uses a regular, you use a regular real clock mechanism, like clock kit, a regular clock mechanism and everything. And your hands can be whatever you want. But, there's some online that are, made of metal. They all kind of have a similar look, and stuff like that. And they sell for $40, $70, $79, $74, right? Crazy stuff, right? So all kinds of things. $233 for this Fibonacci wall clock. $233. We're gonna go over to Etsy and we're gonna check it out. So you see that right there? It looks like the other ones, right? But hey, you can put a price on anything you want, right? Exactly right. So that's a Fibonacci clock, ladies and gentlemen. And again, I am not the creator of a Fibonacci clock, but we're going to do our little take on it. We're not going to do the little square thing. We're going to do a real clock. We're going to have a nice carving, engraving on it that's going to have some kind of, it could be whatever quote you want. It could be a quote about beauty. It could be a quote about time. It could be a quote about anything, right? But we're going to do a carving and engraving on it. And we're going to try to make this to be a cool, nice looking, elegant piece that if you did make it, it would definitely be a showstopper, or at least a conversational piece, when somebody sees it, and everything, and you can kind of like, yeah, man, I made that. All right. So I want you to put your thinking caps on, because I want to show you how you can draw your spiral in a couple of different ways, but I want to show you how it lays out. It's a sequence of numbers, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 24, or 21, and then 34, right? It's just a sequence of numbers, right? And then the sequence of numbers allows us to create our spiral. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start off. We're creating the hour hand, right? So the first part of this is creating the hour hand. We got to create our spiral. So here we go. We're going to start off, and we'll start off with a 1 inch by 1 inch square. Okay, so let's zoom into that 1 inch by 1 inch square. Now we'll drop another 1 inch by 1 inch square here, and then I'm just going to drop the squares on the screen, and then we'll put them together so you can see how they lay out. So imagine, if you will, let's kind of do the explanation. Imagine, if you will, if I had these 1 plus 1, is 2, right? So the height of this is 2. So if I come in here and I make a 2 inch by 2 inch square, 2 by 2, drop that there, I could drag that 2 inch square over here and kind of connect it there. Now 2 plus 1 is 3, right? So I could draw a 3 inch square, 3 by 3, drop it here, and then I could drag it and snap it there. And 3 plus 2 is 5, right? So I could draw a 5 inch by 5 inch square, not 58, 5 by 5. Oops, don't accidentally hit enter. 5 by 5, click over here. I could take that and snap it there. All right, 5 plus 3 is 8, right? So let's go with an 8 by 8 square. Bear with me, there's a point to all this. 8 by 8, let's drop that down here. And let's move that there. 8 plus 5 is 13. So let's do a 13 by 13 square over here. Boop. We're getting there. We're getting there. Drop that there. 13 plus 8 is 21, right? 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 21. All right. So 21 by 21. I had to use my fingers to count. We'll drop that there and snap that to there. That lines up. 13 or 8 plus 5, or 13 plus 8, sorry, is 21. And then 21 plus 13 becomes 34. And that's going to be our final square. We'll do 34. So let's go 34 by 34. All right. That's all the squares that we're going to need. Okie doke. Okie doke. Now, I want to rearrange these squares, but I just wanted to show you the layout and all, but I want to rearrange these squares for a moment. Let's get them on the board. Let's center this up, because you can arrange them in any order that you want. Give me just a second. And I want to change the arrangement. I want to center them on, where's my alignment? Oh, closed it. Let's center that. But I want to rearrange these. I just wanted to kind of give you that sequence and all, but I want to rearrange the squares because I kind of want these to fall in the middle and everything. Okay. So we're going to have the, here, we're going to have the 1 to 1 here with the 2 there, 3, and then 5. And then I want to take my 8 square, because imagine, if you will, if I'm spiraling around kind of thing, right? So I want to take this, as this comes around and everything, I want to take this and let's put this, where do I want this? Give me just a second. Where do I? Because I can choose any side that I want. Let's do that. This, that, that. Pop that over there. Pop this down here and pop this over here. So I like this. This is going to be our sequence right here. All right, let's get that recentered. Doom, doom, doom. Okay. And it doesn't matter that there's squares here. It doesn't matter how you lay these out. They all out, and your spiral can start or end any way you want. If you were to look at one of my originals here and everything, you would see that my originals here, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, right? Kind of goes in that order and everything, so it can spiral around. And I kind of, that's actually kind of what I want. Let me see here. Let me do my layout here. So if I'm drawing my line, and we're going to go from corner to corner, ladies and gentlemen, corner to corner. Let's take move that out of the way for a second. Move this down for a second. That's my 13 by 13. Okay, so I'm going to come out. Let me draw my lines. This will help me a little bit. So imagine, now I'm drawing straight lines, not my swirls yet. We'll draw the swirls in just a second, but straight line from corner to corner, corner to corner, corner to corner, and spacebar for just a second. This here is my 2 by 2. So now, hold on, let me move this. My 3 by 3, I'm going to put down here so that I could continue this line from this corner to here. And then I'll take my 5 by 5, put that there. Cool beans. And if I could draw a straight line from here to here. Bam. All right, so imagine I'm coming up here. I'm spiraling around. So then my this was my 5 by 5. This is my 8. So 8 will go up here. I like this layout so that I can draw my line from here to here. And then I got to come this way. So that's going to be my 13. Where's my 13? 13's right there. We'll put that on this side. That way I can draw my line from here to here. And then I'm coming down this angle. That's going to be my 21. Put that, snap to it, buddy boy. Hold on, let me snap to the corner. Get it all lined up pretty. Bam. Okay. So I could draw my line from there to there and then end it off with my 34, which would come here. Bam. And then I could draw my line from here to here. Right now, these are straight lines. Instead of the spiral, right? We're going to make the spiral, but I just wanted to show you how, you know, that sequence. Now, if I took this here, all of these, just as an example, It's not going to draw a really nice, pretty spiral, but it'll give you a general idea. If I took these here and I joined them together as one open vector, and I took that vector and I went into node editing mode, and I selected those nodes, right? So those nodes, even this one, and I hit the letter S on my keyboard to smooth out those nodes, S, it's going to create not the best spiral and everything, but you kind of get a general idea of, where it's heading and everything. Now, if these were S is smooth, right? But if these were arcs and everything, and I pulled these arcs into actual arcs, which we're going to do it a little bit different to make it cleaner and everything. But if this was an arc and I pulled this down to, let's say, here, and if this was an arc, you get the general idea. And I pulled this up to, let's snap to the arc there. If I turn this to an arc, you get the idea. We don't need to really make all of them this way because we're going to do it a little bit different. That arc's a little high, right? So pull that back down. It's got to flow nicely. But you can see that smooth spiral start, right? And everything. Well, I have a little bit of an easier way to make the arcs. It's a little bit messier, but for me, it works, right? Because it gives me my nice clean arcs and curves and everything. So let's take this. Let's get out of node editing mode here. Let's take this for just a second. Let's move it off to the side. That's our funky one, right? Now, here's how I like to make mine and everything because it's just cleaner for me. Now, right here, this is 0, 0. So what I would like to do is on my board here, right here, I'm going to go with the job setup of the center, right? 0, 0, because I want to make the clock and everything. I want to base kind of everything off here. And I'm going to take this object and I'm going to drag this right here, that corner, that small little 1-inch block right there, that inside left corner right there. I want to drag and snap that to 0, 0. Okay. So I want that to be my 0, 0 position. All right. Cool beans. And just for right now, work with me. Now, imagine, if you will, that I have a clock. And let's say that my clock here was roughly 82 inches. Because my board's big right now. We're going to scale it down to a normal size. But imagine that, I'm here at 82 inches and all that. It's 82.131, blah, blah, blah. But the radius of this from this point. Now, these are, this is what I'm going to base. We're going to draw the clock, those little slices that you saw in the Fibonacci clocks, that 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4, 5, 6. And then at the bottom, it was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They got that by creating the spiral and turning it that 30 degrees. You'll see in just a minute how we do it. And then making a copy of it. And that's going to be that line. And then another 30 degrees and make a copy of it. Another 30 degrees, make a copy of it. And that's how you create those hour marks on the board. And we're going to do this. I'm just kind of giving you a little advanced class. But here's how I like to draw my swirls. It's a little bit messy, but I like to do it with circles. So I'm going to take a 1-inch radius, not diameter, a 1-inch radius circle, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on this 0, 0 position, and drag that up to here. And that right there is going to create my first 2 swirls, right? From this corner, that arc, and this arc. Okay. Next, I'm going to create a 2-inch radius circle. It doesn't matter where you drop it, like on the screen. Oops. It doesn't matter where you drop it on the screen, because we're going to drag it into place. And on this one, I'm going to grab it at the top at the center at the top, and I'm going to snap it to the center at the top here. And that's going to create this arc. Now let's do some trimming as we're drawing the circles, so that way it doesn't become overwhelming, like, okay, what lines do I get rid of and what lines do I keep? So let's take our scissors, and on this 1 inch circle, I'm keeping this line and that line, which means I'm getting rid of this one. Okay, this half. Let's do it a little bit better. Instead of the scissors, just in case the scissors screw me up, I'm going to use node editing. Let's go to node editing. So here I'm keeping, it's in arcs, right? So this quadrant, I'm keeping this arc, which means I'm going to get rid of that span there, this span here, and this one, right? So we're only keeping the other one. So, node editing. Now, the scissors would have trimmed up to that line. It would have, and everything. But just in case it created some kind of overlaps, I didn't want to do that. So deleting the span. So now we have these two, right? Now I'm going to come over and I'm going to take on my circle. On my circle, I'm going to create my 5 inch circle. I might have jumped ahead. I might need my 3 before my 5. Let me see here. Yes, I need my 3 first. Sorry, I jumped ahead. Circle, I need my 3 inch radius. 3. We drew a one size box, a 2, a 3, a 5, 8. So we're going to use those. So 3. And again, I'll just click here. Now, I'm ended right here, so I want to grab this right side and just drag it over and snap it to the line. That's going to give me this radius right here. And then we'll get our 5 in there. 5. Drop it right here on the screen. And the 5 is going to come up to here, so I grab it at the bottom, snap that there, and that gives me that arc. Let's do a little bit of trimming. We can do node editing or the scissors. I'll do node editing, but here I'm going to get rid of this span right here. By the way, if you hover your mouse over the span and hit the D on the keyboard, it deletes it, right? So the keyboard shortcut is put the mouse on the line, hit the D, right? So over here on this one, I don't need this, or this, because I just needed that arc, right? Now, my next one is the 8. And again, like I said, could be a little messy, but it's not really. It's a 8. Let's drop that here. And on this one, we're going to come to here, bam, right there. And that's going to create that arc for me. And then I need a 13. I told you I was going to tax your brain. But once the arm is created, once we get the arm created, then we're good to go. But I'm going to take a 13 and grab it at the top, snap it to there, bam. That gives me this arc right here. Take our node editing, again, hover the mouse. I'm going to hit the D on the nodes to get rid of the span, delete span that I don't need, right? So here on this one, I don't need this or this because I'm just keeping that one, and I don't need this one. Come in here, and on here I'm keeping this, but I don't need this one. Get rid of it. All right, so that gives me that scroll. 2 more. So after the 13, I need the 21. Now on the 21, I'm down here, so I'm going to grab it on the right side and snap that to the line. That gives me, grab it in the middle. I'm low, so grab it in the middle there on that and snap it to that line. That gives me this arc. I don't need the others. So N for node editing. Here's the fast way to do it. N for node editing. Hover your mouse, hit the D. Hit the D. Hit the D. Right? So now we have that arc. And finally, the last arc. Now, this is the clock, that outside clock. We'll get rid of that for right now. So the last arc is the 34. 34. And if I grab it at the bottom and snap it to here, That gives me this arc. So N for node editing, come over here and hit D, D, D. And there, ladies and gentlemen, is my spiral. So now I can select this vector, this one, all the way around, and group or join, not group, but join those 8 different vectors into one. And now I have my spiral, right? Ta-da. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my squares and I'm going to move them to a new layer, move to layer, new layer. This is going to be my layout. I'll give it a different color, maybe like a green, maybe. But we're going to turn it off. I don't want it on right this second. Okay, so I have my spiral. Cool beans. Now, here's where you get dizzy. If I rotated this spiral, if I came into the rotate tool and I said, hey, let's rotate around 0, 0, which is the point of this, 0, 0 here. If I rotated this around, that's what creates that dizzy, that hypnotizing, dizzy circle that you see, right? Cool beans. Now, if I came in here and I drew a circle from 0, 0 out and I snapped it to the end of my arc here, when I spiral this arc, it should make contact all the way around on that circle, the end of that loop, right? Now, I'm going to stop it down here at the 6. Just for now. And we don't have to stop it at the 6. Let's... we'll leave it there for just a minute. All right, circles and squares play nicely together. They do, right? All right, cool beans. Okay, now let's lay out the hands of a clock. We'll do, all right, so here's the deal, right? A clock, your gear ratio on a clock, just everybody probably knows this, and I'm not telling you anything new, right? But a little clock mechanism, you have a second hand, you have a minute hand, and you have an hour hand, right? A little mechanism on a clock. And for those of you who don't, when I say mechanism, you may not, if you don't quite know what I'm talking about. Let's say if we went to clock, let's see here. It's Klock, kit.com. Clock movement. All right, that domain is, it might be COLOCK. Kit.com, clockkit.com. Hold on now. ClockKit. Did ClockKit shut down? Let me see here. Did ClockKit shut down? No, Clockit. There's no K, right? So Clockit, Klockit. They don't have a ClockKit. So clockit.com, they have, your mechanism movements, quartz mechanisms, and all that stuff. Let's go with the quartz mechanisms. That's these things, right? That you put in the back of a clock. And by the way, this is a great resource to get your clock parts or your clock hands, all that cool stuff. But we're making the clock hands, right? And all that stuff tonight. But anyhow, second hand, minute hand, hour hand, right? Each one of them go on a little thing, and each one of these have a gear ratio. So, right, our second hand, goes around, and our minute hand turns 1. So it's a 60-to-1 ratio. And then our hour hand goes around, 12 times, for, 1 turn. It's a 12-to-1 ratio, that kind of thing. So those gear ratios, we need to kind of know that. Well, We won't really have a second hand on the clock unless you want it, and that's fine. We would probably just have our Fibonacci spiral is going to be the hour hand. So we'll create a little hub that goes on the clock kit, and it turns it. And then we'll have a minute hand. You could have a second hand too. It doesn't matter. It's your clock. You can make it whatever you want. But we need to kind of know that sequence. So here, I'm just going to do hours right now. So I'm going to draw a line at the top of my clock right here. I'm going to draw a line straight down. And if I take that line and I rotate it, doing a circular copy, rotate and copy, doing a circular copy. The circular copy tool is down here under offset and layout, the third icon. If I rotate around 0, 0, which is the center of my board, 12 times around for 360 degrees, that will create the 12 hands of the clock, essentially, right? The 12 hours of the clock, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way around. Now, from 12 to 1, 1 to 2, each one of those is 30 degrees. That movement is 30 degrees, that angle and everything. 360 divided by 12, right? 30. So it's a 30-degree movement. Now, if I draw a line from my 0, 0 up to, let's say, the end of this line right here, just for kicks and giggles. Doesn't have to go all the way up. You'll see as I move that hour, consider this line and this Fibonacci spiral the hour for a minute. Just consider it the hour. As I rotate that around 0, 0, negative 30 degrees, because we're going clockwise, negative 30 degrees relative movement. Watch here. As I rotate, now I'm at the 1 o'clock mark, right? Well, the spiral is at a certain location here. Right here. We're following this line all the way up. So the spiral is at a certain location. And if I rotate that to the 2 mark, that spiral's at a location. And then the 3, 4, 5, 6. And so that spiral, that graduation up there, that's the little marks that we carve in to create the 1 o'clock hour mark, the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then as we go around on the bottom side from 6, the spiral right here, that's numbers right here. We're focusing on this one now, going down. That's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? So we end, here on that mark when 12, right? Depending on what it is. Now, what you'll see if we go back and look at some of those Fibonacci clocks and everything that we saw online and everything, you'll notice here, like they kind of have the arm pointing up, and they have the bottom of the Fibonacci spiral at the 12, right? So they're using the end of the spiral to be the indicator of the mark. If this was moved to the 11 mark, then this spiral would fall right here on this swoop, and the 10 mark, the spiral falls on that little swoop, 9, 8, 7, and then 1 through 6 up here, right? So those little notch marks and stuff that indicate where that spiral falls. Now, if we wanted the spiral to fall on the 12, like the bottom portion of it and everything, that's fine. We just have to, when our rotation, it would probably be that mark right there. That would be our number 12 right there. We would kind of have that set, and if that was 12, like let's say the spiral was 12, then I'll move this line Bear with me a second. 0, 0. I'm going to go 30 degrees. Put that back there. So we would kind of start here, which would mean that if I rotate this around 0, 0, negative 30 again, negative 30. When I rotate this to the 1 o'clock mark, that's my 1 o'clock hash right there. So let's define an area for our hash. Let's draw a rectangle, small rectangle. We'll come all the way across like that, doesn't matter. Let's get it centered on the board, aligned to the center of the board. And so this little slash right here, imagine if you will, if we cut away this and cut away that, that remaining line, that would be our vector line for our carve, right? For the 1 o'clock mark. And so what we want to do is we want to rotate this around the 12 times, and we want to make 12 different copies so that we can create those little hash marks. So let's undo this. Ooh, redo that. Let's put this back at 12 o'clock. So rotate, use coordinates 0, 0, 30 degrees. Positive 30 is going to go counterclockwise. So that puts us back there. That'll end up being the 12 o'clock mark, right? So if I come in here, and I already have layers with the hash marks on there, but we're going to do them fresh. So I'm going to create a new layer, and it'll be 1. So I'll just delete that out, but we'll leave it at 13 for right now. So 13 will be 1. So new layer, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. The reason why I'm doing that is because I already have 1 through 12 with the hash marks, kind of already, kind of there and stuff and drawn somewhere else on the board. So we'll leave them all blank, but we'll just use these layers down here. So since I'm kind of at this position, which is technically the 12 o'clock mark, it'll be 24, right? I'm going to right click and copy that, what I have selected right there. I'm going to copy that to the 24 layer, right? So, and make sure your layers are turned off. Turn off all your layers. Don't have anything on or active, right? Just only the working layers, what we're working in right now in this instance. Okay, so that's 12. Now I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 all the way around. So select these two things, just these two things here. The rectangle we're going to use as our trimming boundary in just a moment. But select these two things, rotate around 0, 0. And this is the tedious part. We got to do this 12 times. So it's a negative 30. Click apply. Right click, copy to layer. It's going to be 13. That's the 1 o'clock mark. Okay. Select it. 0, 0. It doesn't keep the 0, 0. I hate that. But 0, 0, negative 30, rotate. We're at the number 2 mark, right? Right click, copy to layer 14, right? It's going to be my 2. Select it, and it's rinse and repeat 12 times, right? You don't need to hear me say select it, rinse and repeat. So 0, 0. It's already negative 30. Go to 3. Right click and copy to layer 15. So now in your head, you got to do math, right? So we're military time now, right? 1,500 hours. Okay. So select it and rinse and repeat. So give me a second. Follow along on the screen, but I'm just rinsing and repeating the same thing. So once I get it moved, it's right click and copy to layer 16. Select and continue. Copy 2, 17. I wish it would keep the 0, 0 in there for me, you know, so that all I had to do was just, you know, select, copy, go, but it doesn't. So after each time, just select it, change it to your rotation to 0, 0, negative 30, come around. Right, so as soon as it moves, right click and copy to layer. This will be 1900 hours. Select it again. Now you're not going to have, I already have 12 layers, so I have to work with 13 through 24, but you're going to be working 1 through 12, so it'll be a little bit easier for you because you know 7 is 7, 8 is 8, 9 is 9. You know, you're moving into that layer. In my case, I'm in military time, right? So 18, 19. I've already copied that to layer 19, I believe. So use coordinates 0, 0, rotate it, right click, copy to 20, and literally just the tedious part is rinse and repeat. Okay. Now I'll look at questions in just a second. Let me get past this little tedious bit right here, and then we'll look at questions that you might have, and then we'll move on. So let me do, I'm at 2100 hours, so 0, 0 on the rotation, apply, right click, copy to 22. $23, and then I already did 12. It was already, that was the first one that I copied, if you remember, right? Which was that position there. Already did that. So now this, let's say that this is my master copy for a moment, right? And everything. That's my working layer and all that stuff. That's wonderful. I'm going to turn it off, and I'm going to literally turn on all the little swirls that I just created, those 12 swirls. And I got to turn on the working layer because I need this rectangle. I'm going to copy this rectangle to one of my layers. Copy to layer just 13 for right now. That way I can turn off that working layer, but I still have my rectangle here. And then with the rectangle, literally, I'm going to do 1 through 6, and then 7 through 12. So turn off the 24 through 19 right here, 9 through 21. And this is my 1 through 6 slash marks right there, right? So those. So if I come in here and create a new layer real quick that says 1 through 6 slashes, I guess, I don't know. And then another layer, if I create another layer that is called 7 through 12 slashes, when I come in here with my scissors and trim, holding down that left mouse button and just trimming up here and trimming here, that's my 1 through 6 layer right there. And then I don't need any of this other stuff, right? It's just that, literally, though, that's all of that for just that crazy stuff. But we still need our spiral because we got to carve our arm. So all of the rest of this, right? All of the rest of this can go bye-bye. Okay. Now, if I turn off the 1 through 6 layers, well, that's a lie. Hold on a minute. Before I turn off the 1 through 6 layers, I need to take these vectors right here and move them, not copy, move them to the 1 through 6 slashes layer. All right. So they're there. Now I can, excuse me. Let me move this one. Now I can come in here and turn off these layers 1 through 6, for me, 13 through 18. And I can turn on 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and take my scissors, trim away all of this, trim away all of this. At this point, none of this is needed. And these vectors move to 7 through 12 slashes. So now if I come in here and get rid of all of this, I've got my marks, and if I turn on my working layer, right? So this is where it'll make sense. And let me give these some color other than black. So let's go, is red. What's a good color that everybody can see really well? What's a good color that everybody can see really well? No. Hold on. And we'll do the same thing with this. All right, so maybe you can see those lines and all, but now here's the deal. Okay, I made these slashes on a single line, kind of like a center line. So that way when our arm turns on a carving, it'll be centered. Bear with me. I'll explain what I mean by that in just a second. But when we come in here and rotate our clock around that 0, 0, negative 30. So every time our minute hand goes around 60 minutes, right? Our hour switches, and it'll be, we're going to have a number 1, a number 2. We'll engrave numbers on there, but that swirl will be there, right? So the next hour, the next hour, the next hour, the next hour, the next hour. And then on hour 7, if we watch down at the bottom, hour 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? Cool beans. All right, so that's going to be our little slashes. We'll have numbers 1 through 12 on there and everything like that. And it'll be pretty cool. All right, so now let's go ahead and hit save as. Let's save our work up to this point. Fibonacci clock. But there we go. We created those hour marks. That's what we essentially did, right? Now, some clocks that you see online, they have the minutes slashes there too, like in a smaller sequence. They have the minute, hands and all for, let me show you. Go back to our inspirational images, right? And if we look at a wooden clock here, you see how this one in the middle kind of has like the little minute hand. So when that minute hand, the swirl is the hour, by the way, the swirl is the hour, right? So when this minute hand, goes around 60 minutes, then the swirl moves an hour, right? Kind of thing. And then when it's at 30 minutes, it's in between the lines and all that, blah, 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 right? So some people might like in their clock to have the little minute hands or even the second hands or all that stuff, whatever it is. You can kind of see how fancy you could kind of get with it and all that wonderful stuff, whatever you want, right? Again, it's not a new concept, but You can have it look, any way you want. But what we just created were those slash marks, essentially, right? Now, on my slash marks here, I only made them. I mean, they have a length of roughly right now, and the scale of this is eight. That's an 8-inch span right there. This is an 82-inch clock, by the way. I'm not making a big old wall clock like that. We'll scale it down to size. I just made it big so that I could draw those squares, the 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 13, or 8, 13, 21, 34. I want to be able to draw that and show you how to create that swirl and stuff. So when it's all said and done, at the end of that swirl, the radius, or the diameter, should I say, is around 82.4 inches in diameter. Okay, so now it'll get scaled down to whatever size you want, but I'm just drawing it big so you can kind of get the general idea. And so now we need to actually create the vector that cuts the arm, right? The spiral. And so if I go into my offset tool on the spiral, and let's do this. Let's put the spiral, let's go move to layer, spiral. And let's turn off the working layers for right now and just turn that spiral layer on. So we just have that. I need to create an arm, a decent size that's not too fragile, and if you look at the clocks that we're kind of getting inspiration from and everything, the thickness, get down with the thickness of that arm is quite thin, right? And probably in many cases, this was cut on a laser, right? That little arm. So, and everything like that. I'm going to be using a CNC, router and all. So, when I come in here, I'm going to have a little radius right there instead of a nice sharp point, where it comes into that spiral, blah, blah, blah. But we got to make that hub that fits on the gear, on the mechanism of the clock, right? And everything. But how thick you want that arm, totally up to you, right? Whatever you want. And so, let's say that I offset outward. Now, remember, mind you, keep in mind now, this is 82 inches, right? So when I scale it down, it'd be thinner. But imagine I offset this 1/4 of an inch in both directions, which is like a 1/2 inch arm, right? Now, notice something. I want you to notice something, and it's an anomaly, if you will. Let me get onto my spiral. Make sure that layer is active. I just hit undo, because that layer wasn't active when I did that offset, so it turned on my other layer down here. Make sure that layer is active. It's bold. We want to see it up here. Let's do that again. I want you to see what happened here. Offset. Notice that it's missing it made the inside vector here, right? It made the outside vector here, and it made both sides here, but it skipped this section. I have not figured out a reason why. I haven't figured out a reason why it does that, right? But I need that section. So I have to kind of go into, node editing mode, and I have to cut the vector on this node. And I'm going to come around, and I'm going to cut the vector here. And I'll even cut the vector here. Now, I've cut it in those 3 places. So I've got my offset here, right? So now if I select this and I offset it outward, it'll create those 2 lines. If I click on this and offset it outward, it'll create that line. And then I'm connected to the rest of my lines, right? I don't know what the glitch is. right? I don't know what the glitch is or why it does that, but it does, you know, and all that stuff. Now, I do want to go back to my join tool, and I want to, you know, make sure that my my center lines let me come back in here, get out of node editing mode. My center line, I do want to come back and select it. And I do want to join it back together as one, right? And on my offsets, turn this off. I do want to join those together. Now, I accidentally created an overlap here. Let me get rid of that. All right, so I do want to select my doubles, turn this off, and I should have two open vectors. This one, that one, and then my middle one, right? My original. And so now, you know, this will create my arm. Now, of course, again, it's at 82 inches. If this was a 12-inch clock, imagine, if you will, let me turn on my circle. And I'm going to drag a copy up here. So imagine, if you will, if I made this a 12-inch clock, right? So size 12 inches, right? My little arm right here, the little arm would be roughly about a 0.07, right? About a 16th of an inch. Like, that's on the 12-inch clock, right? Because I'm drawing it at 82 inches, right? You can make this at the regular size of your project. You don't have to make it big and scale. The only reason I made it big is so I could draw my 34-inch square, my 21-inch square, my 13-inch square, blah, 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 all those, so I could lay out that spiral for you, right? And everything. But I can I can do the math in my head. I can scale that down to what it would be. But if I were to scale this down, my arm is only a little over a 16th of an inch thick, right? So I got to think about that. That's doing a 1/4 inch offset from that center line all the way around. So I might want to, you know, do a 1/2 inch offset or a 1 inch offset or whatever if I'm doing it big like this, so that when I do scale it down, it makes my spiral a reasonable thickness, that it's not so fragile. Are you all with me? Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you're following along and tracking along and you're picking up what I'm throwing down, right? So give me a thumbs up if you're kind of following along what I'm saying. Just know that I'm working in a big circle. My offset, when it scales to a normal size clock, an 18-inch clock, a 12-inch clock, a 15-inch clock, whatever size clock you want to make sure that the arm that you're going to be cutting is a decent thickness, right? So it's not too shallow, right? So since I'm at 82 inches and I'm going to scale down, we'll probably end up making this like an 18-inch clock, right? So let's do that right now. Let's turn on our slash marks here. So we have everything kind of for our clock right here. Let's get out of this. I no longer need the rectangle. So I'm going to get rid of it. Excuse me. But if I select this, and let's bring it down to an 18-inch diameter clock. Let's say that's what the size of my clock is going to be. Let's go down and scale it down 18 inches. Okay. Let's go into my job size and bring this down to, I'll just do a 19-inch board, 19 by 19, right? Okay. Now, again, at an 18-inch clock, my little arm, the way I have it drawn here, is only going to be roughly a little under 1/8 of an inch wide. I'd like to go a little bit wider, right? I'd like to go a little bit wider than that, than 1/8 of an inch. I'd like to maybe have like a 1/4 inch thick arm or something. So now I'm at a reasonable size, right? If I am, you know, from this line at this size at an 18-inch clock here, if I come in here and let's say I measure what my little offset was, so it's about 0.05, you know, 0.054, you know, and all that stuff. So if I come in here and I take my center line, I'll get rid of these two. Delete, delete. And I'll offset that center line out again. And let's see, we'll see if it creates that crazy screw. On the offset, I'm now at a more reasonable size here, right? So I could actually kind of, you know, size it down. I'd like to have about a minimum of a 1/4 inch arm. And this is the smallest my clock is going to get right now. So I'm at 18. I'm at the size that I'm going to be at, right? So let's say that I want my arm to be a 1/4 of an inch. 1/4 of an inch. So that's an 1/8 of an inch offset all the way on both sides. Because I'm at the final size that I want to be at. Let's say I'm at an 18-inch clock. So now I'm offsetting it to the actual size I want my arm. And crazy enough, it doesn't create that spiral. I don't know what the glitch is, but let's go into node editing. I honestly can't figure out the glitch. I tried to figure out what it is. Vetric, if you're watching, maybe you can tell me. Is it just a glitch in the software? What is it? All right, let's go ahead and create our offset. So that gave me my 2 lines there. Good. We'll select this one and create the offset. Create this one, create the offset. Select this one and create the offset. Ah, knew it was going to do that to me. Select that one, create the offset. It's gonna make me work for it all the way around. It's gonna make me work for it all the way around. Lord of mercy. All right. Now, let's take that center line, get out of node editing mode. Let's take that center line. I'm going to rejoin it back together. Select all the little parts. And it got cut on the nodes. The nodes are there. Just gets cut on the nodes to create those offsets. I don't know what the glitch is or why it is, but let's join it back together as one. And then let's take our little double lines, the outside ones, get all them selected. All right, we should have 2 individual lines, 2 open vectors. That's correct. Now, imagine my hub. Now, this is the important part, right? On the hub, that this thing is going to spiral around. Imagine a hub. Let's go with a 1/2 inch hub right here. Now, the hole in the hub is based on the size of the hour mechanism on your clock kit. If you get a clock kit, and you can go to Hobby Lobby too and get them as well. But the diameter, it has to fit on there when you put your little nut on there so it actually spins. It can't be loose, right? So that center hole that gets cut out, I don't know what that diameter is going to be because I don't have a clock kit here to measure it, say, okay, I need to be this, because I need a nice friction fit. When I push this little hub and the spiral arm, when I push it on there, it's got to be a nice friction fit so that when I put my little nut on there, my little holder or whatever, it stays on there, right? And in some clock kits, there is no little nut. In some clock kits, it's just a friction fit that, you know, it fits on. It just depends on the clock kit. Now, if we look at some of the clock kits and we zoom into the parts here, this one has, when it goes through the hole, it had, let me see if it'll make it bigger. Okay, when it goes through the hole, it has a washer and a nut. That's what secures it into the piece, right? And we'll have a pocket cut on the back side that it fits into so this stub can stick out. So it has a washer and nut. Now, when the minute hand goes on, or the hour hand, sorry, it fits on this plastic hub, and that's a smooth plastic hub. And the little nut screws on, and it kind of holds it so it can't come off. But that little nut is kind of a friction fit. Now, on some of these mechanisms, there's kind of like a flat spot. This one's round, but like kind of a flat spot, like it can't turn. You know, it can only go on one way. But that's kind of a friction fit. And then this little nut goes on. And then your second hand goes on, or your minute. Hold on a second. The minute hand goes on, which is this. The second hand is the little guy right in the middle. So the minute hand goes on, and it fits right up against that white plastic on here. And then that nut goes on and it secures. So the hour hand is actually more of a friction fit than anything. And then the second hand pops in onto that little stud that's right in the middle. I wish I could zoom in more than, oh, I can. Oh, I can. So it pops in that little stud there, and then this cap goes on holding that in place, right? Kind of deal. And all that. Or whatever. I'm not sure. But anyhow, that's kind of the kit. Some of them have, some don't. Well, I don't know what that friction size is and all that stuff. All I know is that my hub is going to be a 1/2 inch in diameter, and then there's going to be a hole in there that fits it onto the clock mechanism, right? Right. Why didn't you join everything at one time? Oh, why didn't I? Why didn't I just select everything except for this and that and that, and just go to the join tool and join it all at one time? There was no reason. I just didn't. But you absolutely could select all those open vectors, and it would create the 6 levels. Now the 6, there should only be 3, right? So it's showing 6 open vectors, which means I have a duplicate somewhere. Let's see. That's 1. That's 1. And that's 1, which is 3. I don't know what I had. I must have had something selected out there. But anyway, 3 open vectors. So yeah, you could select it all, and you could join it. Yeah, absolutely. I just didn't. That's all. All right, now listen, this is all rotating around 0, 0, 0, right? See that end of that line? That's that middle circle. It's all rotating around there. So my 1/2 inch circle is drawn on 0, 0, right? And that 1/2 inch circle ends up turning into this spiral, right? This part and everything. So let me get rid of this line. I don't need this line here anymore. But now, little trimmy going on here. If I come in with my scissors, the circle's at center, right? My circle is at center. Okay. So that's now my official hub, if you will. So now I come in and I no longer need these 3 circles in here. And this circle is turning into this swirl, right? So I get rid of this. But before I get rid of that, well, I'll get rid of it. That's fine. But there's my hub, and it's got a weird shape to it. So we're going to fix that shape, right? It's got a weird shape to it because of the lines and everything. Okay, so that's going to come in there. But I still I need to draw like my little circle where I actually am going to be milling a hole, right? So let's make it, let's say it's an 1/8 inch, 0.125. That's going to be my hole pocket. Okay. Now let's clean up this, that, that vector looks ugly right there and everything. And anyway, so here, if I draw this circle out to here and just snap to there, right, I can kind of see that, nice clean circle there, which kind of goes in that sequence. So I can take and go to, I'm going to go to node editing. I'm going to get rid of the spans that I don't want. I don't want that span or this one. Actually, I want that one. Sorry. I want that. I don't want this span or this one or this one. And the reason why I'm doing the spans instead of the trimming is because the lines start to overlap right here. And if I trim, it's going to the scissors sometimes can screw up. So I'm deleting the span, right? And you see that span went to there. There was no connection. So I'm going to hit undo on that. I'm going to keep that span. Now I'm going to come in on that span here, and I've got an overlap going on right here. So now I should be able to take my scissors now and trim that away. Oop. And it should, just let me get rid of this. So I should have a nice clean intersection. Nope, still got an overlap right there. Yeah. So node editing. I'm going to insert a point right here in the middle. There's already a point there. And on this vector here, I'm going to delete this span, right? Brings it up to there. So now there's no overlap. Anyhow, so I'm going to come in here. Now I'm going to take my scissors. This is my clean circle coming all the way around here. So this stuff in the middle, where's my scissors? I'll trim here and here, right? And I'll trim there. I'm still keeping the middle line uncut. I don't want to delete or anything. I'm going to move it. It's on the spiral layer. I'll move it back to my working layer so I can kind of, no, that was stupid. I'll move it to original, whatever. I'll just call it original spiral, and I'll turn that off just to hide it. So now, once again, on here, that's my arm. I got to connect it at the end now because that's going to be our piece to connect. But let me rotate it just so you can see now. We're going to still rotate on 0, 0, right? 0, 0, negative 30 degrees. Let's zoom up here. And these blue lines should fall in the middle of that arm, when I come around. Now that's 6. So down here, you're watching down here, the blue line should fall in the middle of that arm for every hour, right? Cool beans. And then back to 1 o'clock, right? That kind of thing. All right, I'm going to hit undo on that last one to be at 12 o'clock, but you get what I'm throwing down there? Cool beans. Okay. All right, so now I want to close this off because this is where this little part right here is actually going to be a part that we're going to cut out of a small piece of wood or piece of plastic, whatever the case may be. So I'm going to close the vector off. You can do it with a smooth curve. You can do it with a straight line. You can do whatever you want. I'm going to do a smooth curve. That's a lie. Oops. I'm going to go join with a straight line. Oh, come on now. Join with a straight line. And then I'm going to go into node editing mode, and I'm going to turn that into an arc. Not that way. This way. So it'll give it a nice little round edge, right? Round in. All right, now this part right here, that's my part. That's my hour hand, right? That's the hour hand that we're going to cut out. Okay? Okay. All right. So now let's put that back for a second. That's my hour hand. So that's going to get cut out of a separate piece. Contrasting material could be a maple clock with a a walnut hour hand, whatever the case may be. These vectors, the blue vectors, that's going to be my hour marks. But let's be real. Somebody might not know what they are. So let's put some numbers on there so they know that it's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. For those millennials that can't tell digital time. No, I'm just kidding. Not digital, analog. I'm just messing with you guys. Don't hate. Don't hate. But we'll put some numbers in there. And I was only teasing for those millennials. But anyhow, we're going to select, let's do text box. Well, I don't know why I selected those. You don't need to select them. On the text box, whatever you want your numbers all look like, here's how I do it. Okay. First of all, let me come over here. We don't need to be, let's do a 1 inch tall here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Missed 5 all together right there. 5. I'm hitting enter. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And the reason why I do this is because they're individual lines now, and I can turn around and I can break those lines, that block, into individual lines. So now, 1 is its own line, 2 is its other, and I can drag and drop them over kind of thing, right? And everything. Now, I just happen to luck out that number looks just about the right size and all that stuff. But there are some different, because of the way the spiral is, the spacing is not consistent. We don't want it to be, for this clock, but the spacing. So number 1 is going to be maybe a smaller than 2, and then 3, 4, 5, 6 could probably be consistent in their size and all that stuff. But now let's go back to this, and let's put it back as a group for just a second, because the font that I chose was Royal Signage, and it's a nice looking font. I have no problem with that whatsoever being my font. I think all the numbers look good. So, but again, make whatever font you're going to choose and all that stuff. Now, keep this in mind. These hour hands and all, this is not the clock by any means. I'm just giving you a reference of that, like what you normally would visualize as a clock, the clock hands and all. This is the hour marks, right? So we would probably create a little bit smaller circle to create the minute hands, so the minute hand's a little shorter and all that stuff, just like you saw in that wooden clock and all. But these, they're just for visual references right now. But we do need to draw the numbers. Now, on some of the clocks, they split the line and put the number in the middle, which is not a bad idea and everything. They just kind of, cut the line away from the number in the middle and all that stuff, and that's fine. Whatever floats the boat to make it work. But I'm going to stick with the Royal Signage. I like it. It's a good, nice looking font. I don't have any problem with that at all. So I am going to break that text into individual lines. Stick with me. I know it's getting late. It's 9:50 and we're kind of like, just getting it here. But that was a lot of, you got to contact Vectric on their glitch. I know I do. I do need to email them on their glitch and say, hey, can you explain to me why this is happening? Because it happens every single time, right? If it was random, I would say maybe I have a vector wrong, or I did this or did that or whatever, but it's literally every time and I've drawn this like if we look at, you know, here, I've drawn this numerous times and all the different swirls, and it does it every single time on every single swirl and blah, blah, blah. So it's not the way you drew the vector kind of deal. There's some kind of glitch for some reason. I don't know what it is. Okay. Oh my God. That drink has been sitting there way too long. Okay. So, we got the hour hand. Now, I want to get my text in here, right? I want to kind of lay out. Now, again, I said this was a visual, this clock right here, and it is. So I'm going to get rid of it. Because yes, we could do a round clock. It would probably look great as albeit, but it could literally be any shape. You saw those rectangle clocks. Heck, somebody even went on the Fibonacci clock. It's kind of their design. I'm going to show it, but you know, they did a cool design. They did a cool design right here. I don't get it. I don't understand it, but they did a circle with a square, and shout out to this store, which their name isn't like thrown around wherever it is, but Colored Wooden. Shout out to you, made by Colored Wooden. Beautiful clock. Don't get me wrong. I love the aesthetics of it and everything like that. I'm not sure what's happening here, you know, with the square, you know, that the aesthetics all, but again, it could be any shape that you want is the whole point of this, right? So you see, you know, odd shapes like this, you see your rectangles. Heck, this one looks like a, it looks like they drew the leaf of life in very faint font there, and then the flower of life, sorry, and then they kind of cut all the points and stuff. So again, I mean, the world is your oyster. It could be whatever shape you want and everything. Anything, right? Whatever. I don't know what shape I'm going to end up with right this second, but I do know, what I do know is that I want to put my quote in, and then that'll kind of dictate my shape for me. So I'm going to take the clock, I'm going to move that to a layer. Just call this the 18-inch clock. I'm going to turn off the vectors. So I'm just left with this. Now I want to put my quote in, and let me go back here. Let's see. I'm going to count the votes here. We got the people that participated. We're not counting D, ABC. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 C's and I've only got 1 B. So I think somebody got my wing. I like that one, so that's what we're going to do. All right, so 4 C's and 1 B. So for those of you that don't remember, time is the space where the intention either becomes life or remains a wish, right? The intention of what you want to do. Make it your life or just wish about it, right? That's kind of what it comes down to, right? And time is something that, you know, we can spend freely that we never get back, right? That kind of, oh, okay. Anyhow, so time is the space where intention becomes a life or remains a wish. That's what we're going to put in our text here. And I got that written down in a little notepad. And I do not know what font I'm going to use on it. The Milk Store font looks cool, but I could do different fonts and everything and lay it out and all that, but let's break it down instead of one sentence here. Time is the space. And I'm doing this on different lines because I might want to move it around, right? So I can break the lines up. or I may put it on different lines where I can change the font on something, right? Time is the space where intention either becomes a life or remains a wish. All right, now that font right there is Black River Bold, and it does all capitals, but the actual capitals have a little decorative kind of like, style to them. Same thing with Royal Signage. All the actual capital letters, which in this case is just the word time. It's got a decorative element to it, and then all the other letters are lowercase. But then there's the Milk Store font, which is kind of a nice little script type font, right? That would look pretty good. And I'm going to break this text in block into lines, and I can kind of move this and size it. I want to kind of stay relative to where my clock is and all, just in case I want the shape to be a unique shape or something, right? Whatever it may be. And it's okay if my arm overlaps, the arm that moves overlaps and all. That's fine, because that's like a wooden piece. It's not, an engraving or something. Give me just 1 second. I want to make sure that I'm not missing something that clock mechanism where the diameter of the moon clock mechanism. Okay, hold on a second. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull this up. Give me a second, because it was about clock mechanisms. Hang tight for 1 second. It's a weird little, give me a second. The 5DH QDFM. HTTPS / it's an Amazon link, a.col/d/5DHQDFM. Okay, it's an Amazon short link. Maybe not. Let's try that again. https://a.col. Oh, no L. There's no L there. That's better. Oh, wow. Okay. Let me see if y'all can see that. Can y'all see that? Let me get to the right screen here. So this is from Emon, it's a 9-piece clock kit set for $18. Wow. Wow. Add to cart for sure. Nice. That's cool. Now, let me see here real quick. Let's see here really quickly. Oh, look at that. That's sexy. It gives the length and the diameter and everything on this fit for clock dial up to an 1/8 inch thick. Fit for an 1/8 to 5/16 inch thick, 5/16 to a 1/2 inch thick. So it's got different post lengths for different thicknesses of material. 5/8 inch overall. Kind of looking at the brass. So 3/8, 1/2 inch, 5/8, and then it's got the diameters. And that diameter right there, You got the hour, minute. So the hour hand is 0.2 inches in diameter. So I would probably go like a 0.19 or 0.18 or something just to test the fit, make sure I want a nice friction fit, because it looks to be on the hour hand. Hold on, let's click on that. On the hour hand, it's that larger white diameter. So that's the one that turns. And then the minute hand is in the middle of that. The second hand is inside of that. And also it is a friction, kind of a friction deal, right? And their hands, probably do just press right on. They're a nice fit. They fit right on, and they, on that plastic and all that stuff, possibly. Cool beans. All right, that's a cool kit. But there's the math right there. There's the numbers right there, 0.2 inches. So that, on that part, that being said, on that part, that 1/8 inch diameter, that would be, again, I'd sneak up on the first one that I made, right, to just see the fit. Or I might just cut a scrap circle with a hole in it and see which fit, works for me. And then that's what I make that, right? So I'm not making the whole part. I just might get a scrap piece of wood, drill a, 0.18 hole, 0.19, 0.2, see which one gives me the best fit, and all that stuff. Because it's got to stand the test of time, too. Constantly turning, a little bit of CA glue and all that stuff will probably hold it on as well, too. But we just don't want it ever slipping, right, or ever coming loose. Thank you. I think that was JR that sent me that. Thanks, JR. I appreciate that. That's great. That's perfect. That was perfect timing. Outstanding. All right. So coming back to the text here, like I said, the text, it could lay out to whatever I want it to be. I want to kind of avoid the slashes, coming through and all that stuff. So it could lay out, I mean, really any way. I could come, here. I could be all in the corner up here. I could be all over the place, all over the board. I don't have to take up the whole entire board, for the quote. I just want to avoid the here. And so, let's see. And actually, right in the center would probably be the smart place if I was, designing this properly. Right in the center would probably be a good place for this. And imagine, if you will, let's open up the rotate tool. 0, 0, -30. And, let's say my quote is somewhere in this area and all. As this comes around, right, some portion of it, it's going to, some portion of it is going to, cross over, and that's fine. But at no point in time is there anything going to be constantly covered up to where you can't read it, right? When those hours go around, that kind of thing. So let's do this then. We'll go here. Time is the space. Time is the space. Let's go up. Where intentions become a life or remains a wish. And kind of keep it somewhat condensed again, because I don't know what the body style is going to be yet, right? So it could be any aesthetically, whatever is aesthetically pleasing to anyone. Now I'm going to take these two items here and I'm going to drag a guideline down. Snap a guideline to here. And then bring that up. Keep that in track there. I'll put this one. Now, here's how I lay things out. So I'm going to put this here. Now, I want this where light become centered between here. Now, there's two ways that I can do this. Number one is I can group this and this together. G for group. And then I can select this middle line, select this group last, and align up and down in that last item to center in there, right? So I'm centered between those 2 points. Or the, not really counting the drop down here or anything, but I could take a line and draw a line from, let's say, the top of my W to the bottom of this X, or the bottom of this T, and then I could take and drag that down to the bottom of my W, and I could bring, you know, if I wanted it, you know, centered and all, I could bring my A up to it and align it that way. Whatever, you know, aesthetically, or it could be misaligned. I don't care, whatever you want. But in this case, I've got it aligned. I've got this grouped with this, and I've got this centered in between that group, right? Okay, cool beans. Now, I'm going to take this text, because I might want to change the font or something, who knows, but I'm going to take this text and I'm going to, because a life could be a different font and be a little bit bigger, and a wish or remains a wish could be a different font or something bigger. And that could be the two key points, because time is the space where intention either becomes a life or remains a wish, right? So, you know, those two things are things to count. So they might be a little bit bigger. They could be a different font, you know, so they stand out instead of being all consistent, right? Whatever you want, whatever style and aesthetics, you know, please to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this to a layer, a new layer, and I'm just going to call this my original text. We're almost there, guys. Original text, and I'll turn that off and click OK. In this way, I can come in here and I can select this, and if I weld this together to get rid of those overlaps, it's going to ask me if I want to keep or replace. Now, if I just made another layer and I had this on the original layer and I keep, it's gonna put that on the layer that I draw. But in this case, I'm just going to hit replace, because I already made my copy on my original layer there. And that's going to get rid of those overlaps, but it's no longer a font at this point. So if I wanted to change fonts, or if I wanted the life to be a certain size, or a wish to be a certain size, or a different font or something, then it needs to be the text. I got to keep that original font, because right now this is just vectors. I just literally got rid of the overlaps and it's vectors at that point. Okay. All right. So let's imagine that that's our clock, right, for right now. And the you know, as we go around. That clock's going to go around to those different hours. We still got to put the text for the numbers in. And then we still got to think about if I'm putting the minute hands around here, then the text can't go there, right? The text maybe needs to go somewhere else. All these things, right? There's so many design possibilities, right? And all that wonderful stuff. Well, I like the minimalist approach where they don't have the minute hands carved in. There could be that approach for it makes it easier for people to read, right? Or that minimalist where, you know, they know where 5 minutes is, 15, 20, 25, 22, right? They know, and they, you know, whether it's you know, a quarter past the hour, half past the hour, you know, that kind of thing, right? Quarter till, right? That kind of thing. With the text in the middle could be that minimalist approach, or we could put the little hash marks all the way around. And if we were doing the hash marks all the way around, I'll do it out here onto the side. I'll do it out here. We would have our little, create your little circle, whatever size it is. Let's say that my circle is 6 inches, and let me draw it over here on this, and then I'll move it over. So let's say my circle is this. Okay, let's move that over here. Get rid of this one. We draw our little mark right down the middle. Bam, bam. Now, this doesn't have to be. Now, if this is a V carve, we'd be carving on the line with a little V bit to make those little slash marks. You know, not a V carve, but a profile cut on the line to make those slash marks. We don't have to draw a rectangle or a closed vector. We can just have that, you know, one thing here. And all. So make the line however you want. Now, the center of this circle right here, if we open this up, this is the center point of that circle right here. I'm not on my 0, 0. I'm off the board. I'm off to the side in the gray space and all. If I select the circle first, that's the center point. Now, the minute that I select this line, it changes that point because now it's finding the center of that. And I need it to rotate around this circle, right? So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to select the circle and I'm going to write down this number. Now, this center left to right is still the same, but the center of the circle, this number is going to change. So that's the number I need to write down. So the negative 22.617, that number is going to stay the same. But this number, that's the important number I need to write down, 11.596, because that's the center of my circle. Okay, that's here. When I select this line, it's going to change that number. Now, my 22.6172 stays the same because it's centered that way. But on my Y, up and down, it changed. So I need to put in the old number, 11.596, 11.596, because I need to rotate 60 times around to represent my minute hands. At 360 degrees, I need to create those minute hands. Or if you, it could be your seconds. It could be, you know, I like the, it's a lot of hands. But my minute hand, that's fine. But you could do that and, you know, cut those around. I like to have the 1, 3, 6, and 9, or the 12, sorry, 12, 3, 6, and 9 to stick out a little bit. Just to, you know, like the 15-minute mark, the 30-minute mark, the 45-minute mark, and the hour mark kind of thing, right? So we'll make those lines a little bit longer. And I'll just rotate that around that center point, 11.596. And I need to go around 4 times. Right? Now I have duplicates here, of course. So I'll get rid of the short ones. Oops. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11.596. 11 so that I have those stick out, right, a little bit further. And that could be G for group. We'll do G for group right there. But that could be my minute hands. Imagine the text not being there, right? Let's see here. Yeah, imagine the text not being there. But I could have my minute hands there, and that minute hand could follow that around. Whatever you want. It could be anything you want, right? Whatever you want. Whatever you want to call it. I like the simplistic. I want to move that to the side. But I do want the numbers in here. So let's get the numbers done. Nice. Okay. I'm going to move this arm out of my way by moving it to, I'll just put it on the spiral layer for right now. Let's turn that off. Hide it out of there. That way, just I don't have anything overlapping on my blue. We're almost done, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. We got to get our text in here, our numbers and all. So 1 is going to go here. Now, I'm going to grab 1 and snap it to the center on the line right there. I'll get 2, 3, 4. I'll get them in there, and then I'll go and size what I need to size or change what I need to change. But let's get the numbers in place first. Let me bring these numbers over. So 1 through 6 is the top. So 1, we'll adjust the size, like I said, in just a second. All right, so 1 and 2, I would probably bring them down in size. And also, now listen, let's get 2 in position there. I'll bring them down in size, but also now it doesn't hurt if these are, if you like kind of did a little something decorative where your numbers weren't, they don't always have to be perfectly in line or any of that stuff. You could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever you wanted, whatever's aesthetically pleasing to you, right? But in this case, I'm going to hold down the shift key and I'm going to just size that down a little bit, not much. And I'm going to take my 1, hold the shift key, and I'm going to size that down a little bit. Not much. I'm just going to create a little bit of space in between them. And then, 3, 4, 5, 6 are fine the way they are. I'm good with that. I have no problem with that at all. And everything. And that's the aesthetics of the Fibonacci clock because of that spiral and all that stuff. So, I mean, nothing's going to change. All right. Now let's take 7 through 12. Grab it in the middle. I'm going to snap. We haven't made our offsets yet. You'll see that in just a second. That's next. 8. We'll end up, sizing 7 and 8. 9. I'm grabbing it. When I grab the number, I'm grabbing it right on that middle square so I can snap it right to the middle of that line. 11. 12. All right, now 7 and 8. Now what I'm going to do is let's go up here and let me see what number 1 and 2 are on the size. Let's go over here to the size tool. I've got 2 about on a height of about 0.3788. One's about 3.4. So let's come over here. I want to try to keep some kind of consistency. 0.34. 0.37. Right? I don't, just again, it could be whatever. Now, I'm going to select all the numbers. I'm going to offset them. And you have to think about this. Now, imagine my bit is coming down and cutting. So when my bit comes down and cuts along that line, how wide is that line going to be depending on the depth of cut? So I'm going to be probably using a 60-degree V-bit. So if I came over here and draw a 60-degree V-bit, and let's say that I am let's say that I'm cutting a 1/16 of an inch deep. Yeah. So I'm going to move that line relative. That's not the move tool. I'm going to move that line relative up 0.0625. And this has a width of 0.0722, right? So that's how wide my line is going to be. So imagine, if you will, here, if I were to take these lines, just as an example, and I offset them in both directions, 0.0722 divided by 2 equals, right? So that's how wide my lines are going to get cut, right? When that bit's cutting a 1/16 of an inch, that's how wide the lines will be and everything. And that's all well and good. On here, I'm going to take the numbers and I'm going to offset them outward. Uh, 0.04, let me see here, 0.04. I don't care that the blend are touching. That's fine. All right, so I don't care that those are overlapping. These are only getting used for one thing. So here I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to trim away that line to that offset, right? To that offset. And then down here, same thing. All right. Oop. All right. Now I'm going to actually delete the offset. It served its purpose. Okay. So there's a faster way of doing this by selecting the vectors. Maybe not. Oh, it would help. Hold on. I got to trim this first. All right. I missed number 6. Bear with me a second. Okay. Okay, so now when my line cuts and everything, it's just going to cut to here, right? My number will be in the middle. Let's create some tool paths and let's see what we're looking at so far here. So all of the lines, they're going to be profile cut. We're going to cut a 1/16 of an inch deep. On the line with a 60-degree V-bit. This will be my hour lines, 60 DEG V-bit. And we can go deeper or shallower, whatever you want. That's just a 1/16 of an inch for now. The numbers, that's going to be a V-carve. The text is going to be a V-carve too, but the numbers are going to be a V-carve starting at 0. No flat depth, no clearance tools with the 60-degree V-bit. So this will be my hour numbers. 60 DEG V-bit. Now, if you want a little more clearance, let me clean this up for a minute. If you want a little more clearance between your lines and your numbers, make your offset, that I only did a 0.04 offset, make your offset slightly bigger. And also your curves, you know, when I trim them on that rectangle that I drew, you know, I trimmed them when we made those copies of the spirals all the way around. They could be as long as you want, but they would follow that spiral mark, right? So in the clocks, when, you know, that we were looking at and all of that stuff, the marks graduate on these clocks. On some of them, you know, where they're smaller and they get bigger, right? You see the gap between the lines and the number there. And the same, you know, however far wide apart you want your lines and all that stuff, or your spiral, but the curve, you know, the lines keep that curve, right? And everything. And so the if you need more spacing, make your offset bigger. So on these, really quickly, I'm just going to select, and I'm going to do an offset of 0.06. And I'm going to quickly take my scissors and just widen that up just a little bit, you know, right? Not much. I wanted a little bit more space between those lines, right? And so make sure you get any trash and all that stuff that needs to be cleaned up. And so the same thing here, I'm going to select the scissors. And all this is going to do is just give me a little bit more space in between where the lines end and the numbers start. That's all. All right. So let's get rid of the offsets. Don't get rid of the line. All right, so we'll come back in here, and on the lines, they got trimmed. So got to reselect them because they're no longer associated with that tool path. And that just gives me just a little bit more space in between the lines and the numbers, right? Okay, so there's that. Now this we've got to set it up as a two-sided job too, because there's a pocket on the back side that gets cut out to the size of the mechanism, right? So if we looked at, like, let's say this little kit that I showed, 5/8 inches wide, or 0.65 inches wide, right? And then the overall height let me close out of this. It's probably in the description here. Give me a second. Oh, right here. 2.9 and 2.09 inches by 2.13 inches by 0.63. Yeah, so 6.3, 6.5, either one. But so 2.9 by 2.13. That's our pocket in the back for that. Like if we had these mechanisms, right? And so that rectangle would be on side 2 on the back to cut the pocket, and then we'd have our hole, and the hole diameter that goes like so the thread goes through the hole. That's the 3/8. Let me see here. Hold on a second. That's 9/8 inches length. It looks like it's going to be 0.2 is the hour hand. That's a little bit bigger, about 0.375 on that center hole. Let me verify that really quickly. The clock fits dials from 0 to 1/2 inch, thick. Click most clarts. Yeah. So probably 0.3, 0.375 would be that center hole. Unfortunately, it doesn't have that number, but that's okay. No big deal. Something that could measure when you get. But there would be that center hole as well too. So we would have the rectangle here would be that 2.10, which is 2.09 by 2.13, so 2.15. I'll give myself a little room. I don't want to be tied all up on it. And then in the center of that, we would have that 0.3 inch (0.375). So that would be the vector for the other side, for the pocket. Make it whatever mechanism that applies. All right, really quickly, we got our numbers. Let's get our text. And again, the text could be, I think I might go back in and make a life and a wish stand out a little bit more, or something, or remain a wish. Who knows? But let's do it like it is for right now, because we're like 2 hours and 20 minutes into this. This will be my quote text, 60 DEGV bit. Oh, hold on a second. Let me go back and fix that toolpath. Turn those off. There's no end mills involved with this. There's one open vector selected and everything. Let me come back in here really quickly, and it's this right here. So I accidentally grabbed that guy. Let me open this up, turn that off, and calculate. All right, preview that visible toolpath. That would be that text. Now I want to cut this out to a unique shape, right? And I'm going to let my text kind of guide the shape on this and everything. And I'm going to let it be, I'm going to let the text be the guide. So let me put my spiral back in there just for kicks and giggles. Hold on a second. Okay. And on this border shape, this boundary shape and everything, I'm going to, let's go to clip art for just a second. And let's take a look at something really quickly here. On the panels and shields, right? We have, let's see here. We have panels and shields. So on panels and shields, there's all kinds of different shapes. Let me see if there's anything that kind of gets me started on the shape that I want. You know, thinking of this as like a kind of a wall clock. All right. I'm looking at this here. I'm not going to pull it on as a 3D model or anything. There's a vector right here that I could use. So let me drag that onto the screen. Wait for it. All right, so I'm going to bring this up to 19 inches in size and height. 19. I'm going to center it onto the board. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to take an ellipse. Let me see. Bear with me. Let's get rid of that. Let me put a rectangle here. Let's get rid of that. Let's go Control C, Control V, 0 twice. Okay. Node editing. Select these nodes here. Use the right arrow key to bring those in. Node editing, select these bottom nodes and use the up arrow key to bring them up. Oh, hold on a second. I need D for delete. Oh. Oh, come on now. Stop that. Nope. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. I got a center point here that got created. Let me delete that point. It doesn't need to be there. I need, let's insert a point. Here, hold on. Let me get back to here. All right, delete this. I'm going to insert a point. This will make sense in 2 seconds. I'm going to insert a point right here and here. Oh, you booger. Insert a point. D for delete. Bring that across. Over here, on this side over here, what do I want to do with this side? I'm going to I'd like to put like a little sconce or something right here, something that kind of hangs or whatever. But anyhow, let me weld these two shapes together really quickly. And let me take this side, go to node editing, delete this point. I want to take this whole thing. I want to delete this point here and this point here. And I want to take this whole thing and make it a Bezier curve. So it's already a Bezier curve. That's great. Because I want to what do I want to do? All right, let me look at something here. -30. I'm going to cut this vector. I like the way this looks here. I need this to stay kind of like this, but node editing, delete this point. Delete this point. Oh, gosh almighty. I don't know why it does that. Jump scares me. Give me a second. I have a vision for this. I just got to figure out what it is. All right, node editing. I'm already in node editing. I'm going to cut this vector in half. Cut it here and here. I'm going to delete this whole left side or right side. I'm going to mirror this side over. Flip horizontally. And I'm going to make my text fit within my shape here. All right, now this G for group. Time is the space where intention either becomes, I'm actually going to move over here. I'm going to use my guideline to make sure that the bottom of becomes and the bottom of a life are in line. And this is where I would want, you know, a life to be bigger in a different font, right? So almost there. Sorry, this is an aesthetic thing. And then this, let's see, a life, I have that at 1.626 inches tall. Come on, Lane. $1.626. Wow. Why is that so much huger? Why is that so much huger? All right, give me a second. All right, let's move this up and over here. Bring the guideline down to the bottom of this. I got to put the period in its place. Come on, dude. All right, once again, I'm going to select this row here, G for group. That's a lie. U for ungroup. I'm going to select this row down here, hold the shift key down. And G for group, that whole thing, those two things. I'm going to select a life and that little dash, and I'm going to align to this. So I'm going to select a life and that dash first, this group last, and align up and down to that last item so it centers it in between there. I'll do the same thing with becomes, up and down. I will move this over to the left a little bit so it's not so like distanced. Okay, recalculate the text. On the text and everything, I'm going to hit U to ungroup everything, and then G to regroup it all together as one and calculate. Okay. There's that glitch that someone was talking about. They said, my whole board turns black. And let me hit save. I'm not sure what causes that to turn black. But they said, my board turns black. I couldn't figure out what was doing it, why it was doing it. And I'm like, I've never seen that. And here I am experiencing it right now. Okay, so reset the preview. Material color is cherry. Preview all the toolpaths. Why is everything black? I have no idea. That's crazy. That was weird. Okay. Turn the vectors on. Let's do a profile cutout. This is it. Join these two vectors together. Join. Come on, man. I don't know what that jumping's for. Anyhow, profile cut, cutting all the way through the material. Z equals 1/4 inch end mill on the outside of the line. I'm not going to add tabs right now. Preview the visible toolpath. I wish I could, kind of see that. I would probably run an OG bit on the edge of that material. So let me do another profile cut. I'm going to cut down 3/8 of an inch with a let me see what the diameter of that was really quickly. 1.25 inch diameter. So I'll step over 1/3 of that. So the allowance offset is going to be 1.25 divided by 3.33. So 0.375, 0.375 is fine. Negative number, negative 0.375, cutting down 0.375 on that line. Let me see if that's going to, how bad that's going to look. It needs to go a little deeper. Let's go 0.5. Calculate. Preview. All right. Needs some work, but you get the idea, right? You're kind of getting it and everything. It needs some work. It needs the, the arms on it. It needs the, the arm and everything. Maybe a little bit of a tweak on something like this. This could be kind of a play on like a flower or something, you know, it could change it just a little bit. I don't know, but kind of get the idea. Something along those lines, right? So, and then on the back side, you know, you would have on the two-sided project, you would have your pocket cut and your hole through. Let me really quickly, let's end it that way. Let's switch this up to a two-sided job. Let's click OK. Let's go into the 2D view and let's take this center circle here and this circle, this square, and move those to the other side. Flip over to the other side. This would be a pocket cut going 0.656262. It doesn't have to go all the way in, but it can be out. So let's go. For right now, let's go 3/8. It does not have to be flush because it's got the hanger on the back. The clock mechanism is the hanger. And then the hole, I could start down in the bottom of the pocket and cut all the way through. I'm just going to, pocket it out all the way through. It could be a profile cut or a pocket cut, your choice. It doesn't matter. Z equals. Okay, I got an odd looking hole there. That's an odd one. That's a neat little anomaly. Hold on a minute. What's happening there, Hoss? Hold on a second, ladies and gentlemen. What's all that about? Pocket cut. That hole diameter, let me see what the hole diameter is. That hole diameter is 3/8 of an inch. That's a 3/8 of an inch diameter hole. It's not going around and around. It's going back and forth. And I'm using a pocket cut. Should go round and around as an offset. There we go. That might help. Let's calculate that again. There we go. That looks mo better. So there you go. All right, that was throwing me there for a second. I was like, wait a minute. But that raster cut was making it look like a long hole. All right, let's flip over to the other side. Preview all the toolpaths on this side. We'd have a second cut doing a profile cut, cutting out our little arm, right? That little arm, that little vector cut. And so essentially that would be the clock, right? And again, make your shape. I made just a goofy shape, but it's not really goofy, but it could be better. I don't know. It's not too appealing to me, but it could be. I mean, with the mechanism and everything on it, it could look good. You know, going around, whatever the shape is, you get the idea. All that wonderful stuff. That's going to end us for tonight and for our last class. Let's save that. Now, I'm going to tweak the layout of the text. I'm going to tweak the border design a little bit, clean it up. And then I will make this file available for download. If any of you want to try to make it, it'll have the cut out for the arm and everything. It'll have that toolpath and all in there. The only thing you would have to do is get you a clock mechanism and then do your measurements, adjust the vectors accordingly, recalculate the toolpath appropriately for that center hole cutout so it's a nice pressure fit for whatever mechanism and all. But I'll make it an available file for that you can cut. And then, of course, you could change anything, but at least gives you, it'll have all the vectors in there so you can kind of have the idea of all the, it'll have the squares, you know, and the layers. I'll make it all nice and neat to where it'll have that original spiral and the way we laid it out and all of that. And I'll put out a post when it's available for download from the description. All right, everyone. That is going to end us for tonight, but if any of you, when I do release files, if any of you kind of play around with something like this and you make one, I'd love to see photos of it, even if it, you know, if you make it based off this concept. And I saw some great tips. Somebody was like, oh, this would be cool. Let me see here. There was a few that, there was a few comments that there's somebody that would, you know, there's someone that already has an idea, you know, that would like that somebody that they know somebody that have one. Thinking of making the arms out of aluminum, anodized, different colors. Oh man, anodized aluminum would be slick. Do a soft script. Yeah, man. 3D print the arms and everything. Absolutely. I got 3D printers and could absolutely 3D print the whole thing, except for the base. Yeah. So, right, Stephen Main, you know, you ran into that glitch with the spirals as well too. Yeah, so it's a weird thing. I'll bring that over and I'll bring that over. Now, there's a question here. Is there a way to make sheets interact, i.e., if I were to put the spiral and the base on a different sheets, could I get them to interact? No. No. I would love to be able to take the things from sheet 1 and lay them on top of sheet 2 and I'd like to assemble it. That would be cool to be able to assemble it and see the visual and everything. The only way I could assemble it and see the visual and all is if I built it in like SketchUp, you know, the individual parts and, you know, the mechanism and all that stuff. And then I could make it interact. I could animate it and stuff. But no, there's no way to make one sheet interact with another in the 3D view. It's one or the other, or the other, or the other. Okay. So yeah, the I need to clean up the text. I need to clean up the layout and everything, change the fonts up. Kool-Aid, thanks for the super chat, brother. I'm just now seeing that, man. It snuck in up there at the top. I appreciate that. Merry Christmas to you, bro. Happy holidays. Thank you for that. Absolutely. I'll buy me breakfast pancakes, man. All right. I want to thank you all. Have a wonderful evening. I will clean this up and make it look really interesting. I'm not a fan of the shape of the profile of the border and all, but I'll clean it up and I'll make the file available and I'll put out an announcement in the World Wide Web on Facebook and in YouTube when it's ready for download, and then you can download it. And if any of you happen to make it, I'd love to see it. All right, we will see each other again on January 9th. And like I said at the beginning of this video, some of you are just now here. May your homes be warm. May your plates be full, and may your days with your families be, blessed. Y'all have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful evening. Be safe during the holidays and traveling if you're traveling. And we'll see you back at January 9th. Happy New Year, folks. Goodbye.